So I wanted to get started with this video for kind of a while now, but today was the day where I located every Blaw Knox tower, which is the diamond towers. Now the company, or whatever the company is called, I forget, but they mainly built these towers in the 30s, well in the 20s and 30s, because the first Blaw Knox diamond tower that was built was in Cincinnati, Ohio. So I found a list on Wikipedia of where all the Blaw Knox towers are at, and I located every one of them on Google Maps. Now some of them were destroyed by tornadoes and hurricanes, but the one in Cincinnati was the first, and the one in Nashville, Tennessee is the tallest Blaw Knox tower. Now there is a Blaw Knox tower that's used as a Walmart tower, or it's near a Walmart store, because all of us tower enthusiasts have a favorite Walmart tower for some reason, because about every Walmart store now has like a tower near it, but this one's kind of weird because it's a Blaw Knox tower near it. So here's the second piece of list I found from Wikipedia. So I had a list at school today I created, but I forgot to bring it home for this video. And here's the last of it, Stockton, California, and that stuff. So they even show what year they're built, like 1947, 1934. And the one in Charlotte, Carolina is a Blaw Knox Tower trio. It was destroyed by hurricane, but luckily the bottom halves of the tower are still around, so they actually repaired the top half of them. So luckily it's part of the original towers that are still around, because there's only 9 Blaw Knox towers that are still existing today. I also told my friends on Discord that I'd also record the secondary towers, or at least the ones that stand beside them, because Blaw Knox actually had guide towers beside their towers too. So this one's the one in Nashville, it's on the suburb of it. I've been knowing about this one for a long time, so let's go back and look at the list here. I forget what year it was built. It was built in 1932. That's what year it was put up. So I'm assuming this tower was built the same year as the Diamond Tower. Alright, so here's one in a different country where a Diamond Tower once used to be. Because I think about well, the list I think I read, there's only 6 of them built outside of the United States. So there's not that many in the other countries. Because there are some states that are lucky enough to have 2 of them. And here's the one. I think this one's the one. Yeah, this one's another one that's got the secondary tower beside it. Let me look at the list real quick. I forget which one this is. I'm starting to memorize these towers, but I forget. Wait. Yeah, so this one's the one that was destroyed at the end of World War II, but they recovered it. It's in a different country. Now this one originally had old school incandescents, or at least the original Blaw Knox Tower did. Now I'm not sure if this is the original Blaw Knox Tower or not, because they probably did replace a couple of the Blaw Knox Towers. And I think there might be another one they said they replaced after it was bombed in the World War II. But luckily that second tower is one of the survivors of it. I don't even know if that was there at the time or not. Wait, yeah, and then this one. Yeah, this one's I think the same tower that I just filmed. Let me go back and look. No, I think they look kind of the same, so I'm trying to figure out. Okay, this one's the one in Nashville, Tennessee. And here's the one in Cincinnati, Ohio. It's got the WLW on it. Now this one here's the first Blaw Knox Tower built in that style. Well, it's actually the entire first, because that one was built in 1934, I think. And there's the secondary tower in the same field behind it. Now, if I'm hearing this correctly, they're actually wanting to build a shopping mall below this tower, which they just started the construction. And there was a time at night where I was going to Kings Island, and I was like younger or something. Me and my mom went to Kings Island, and we went up in the Eiffel Tower, and I seen the beacons on this tower flashing, which I think it has modern incandescents, and the WLW sign's yellow, by the way. But we was coming home when it was dark out, and I remember seeing out to the sun of my window. It was a big thing. It was like a over 100 foot in the air. But I remember it having some kind of incandescence on it, maybe like modern incandescence. But I do know the tower over here has modern incandescence, which both of these towers originally had old school incandescence. Okay, so this one was taken down last year, because I remember seeing something on this one that's death date was 2020. So this one had a pretty sad fate to it. I'm not sure why this one get taken down though, whether it's destroyed in a windstorm or something like that. Because I think it said this one's purposely taken down because they didn't need it anymore. I'm not sure what kind of beacons this one has, but I think it's beaconless. But I do see a couple of things like right in the tower right here. Oh, you know what? Those must be the guide wire porcelain insulators. They're on the other side of the tower. But it looks to me, because of that, it's beaconless. Okay, so remember in the beginning of the video I told you about there's these three that got repaired after a hurricane? Well, here they are. Now there's a picture of it, like an old picture of after they were damaged, and the top halves of them were taken off and leaning on the ground. But I think the big LT says these ones here have single strobes now, which they all three had originally old school incandescence, and I think they got modern incandescence after that. But when I looked at these on Street View, it looks like they have some kind of LED beacon because they look kind of flat or something. Well, kind of like dial light LEDs, but a little bit smaller. And here's one. I think this might be the one in New Hampshire or New Jersey where that one stood. But there's this big field behind this parking lot, as you can see the cars below. It's like right behind these trees is where one of the Blaw Knox towers used to stand. It was one of those very tall ones. And here's a big opening field where another one stood. I don't really know too much about these new discovered Blaw Knox towers because I'm still in the beginning stage of learning about these Blaw Knox towers. The only Blaw Knox tower I'm familiar with is the one in Columbus, Cincinnati, and Nashville. I'm unfamiliar with the rest of these. And behind these trees is a big field where another one had stood too. And this one actually had a secondary tower across the road from it, but it was taken down as well. And it was like one of those Blaw Knox towers, secondary towers that had a ground porcelain insulator, because basically a tower itself was used as the antenna. So it had insulators everywhere it was attached to something. Alright, so here's the iconic one in Columbus, Ohio. Yeah, I think this one used to be for a different TV company, but then it said it was sold to BNS, no, it was something like that, KBNS TV or something, which they own the two tall TV towers in Columbus, that red and white one, and the big candelabra beside it. That's the company that owns this one now, because they basically bought this one after it was sold over. And so you see this one has two secondary towers, one with the small microwave dish and one in the far back. This one was the one that was used as a Walmart tower I was telling you guys, because there's like a Walmart store near it, so I guess it counts as a Walmart tower. But this one's not as big though, so it's probably got some kind of LED beacon at the top, because I've seen this one on Street View, or at least I discovered it on Street View before. And at the top you can barely see the flat beacon, but it's an LED. And here's another one that's in Ireland. And this one has a secondary tower as a ham radio. These are two secondary towers with this big ham radio wire crossing it. And I call this one the half-built Blaw Knox tower because it looks basically like half of one. So that's what I call the half of a Blaw Knox tower, which it used to be taller. Like it had the big red pipe on it with the TV antennas, but it was taken down a few years ago. Alright, so these trees right here in this field, that's where the base of the Blaw Knox tower stood in the other thing I found. Because there's this one big city like this one right here that had the Blaw Knox tower, but the trees were grown beside it. So that's where this one would stand. This one was like over 200 feet, I think. It wasn't that big, but it was like less than 200 or 100 feet. I forget. Now here's another one where I'd say it stood somewhere in this field because I couldn't find specifically a foundation for this one. But this one was like a 346-foot Blaw Knox tower. It was taken down in 2010, but they no longer needed it, so they had to take it down, which I really hope they rebuilt it somewhere else. Alright, so here's another one in New Jersey where a tower stood. No, I think this one's the one in Newtown Gardens, Pennsylvania, where this one stood. But I remember seeing on Wikipedia list at the beginning of the video this one was replaced. I kind of thought it'd be where that tall candelabra tower stood in this area, but until that map thing I seen on here, there's Blaw Knox Tower base I seen beside this tower. So this one has like modern incandescents. Well, the replacement tower has modern incandescents, but the Blaw Knox Tower ended up with its old school incandescents, so it kept it pretty much all its life until it was taken down. So here's the one in Des Moines, Iowa, where this one stood. Because this one was one of the last ones I seen on the list. It said something about one being taken down near Des Moines. It was in the cornfield, but that little patch of grass right there goes into the cornfield. That's where one of the driveways would stand to it. And the building, well, the tower was a little far down long driveway, but it was like had this brick building below it. Okay, so here's one of the I keep wanting to call them star towers for some reason. Come on. Yeah, I get confused sometimes like this. But I've done it again, yeah. So this is one of those Blaw Knox towers that was hard for me to find on Google Maps. Well, you know why. It's a smaller version of it. And this one comes with 3 4-legged towers. No, there was 2 of them actually in the front of the building right here, but this one was like harder to find because it was one of the smaller versions of the Blaw Knox tower. But that's the smallest Blaw Knox tower that's existing. It's beaconless, unfortunately, but there's this picture I found on Google of a guy standing beside a miniature Blaw Knox tower he created out of sticks and stuff. I thought it was pretty cool. But yeah, this is the last one I found for today. But there's about 16 Blaw Knox towers. Yeah, there's 16 of them, so there's only 6 built in a different country, like out of the United States. There's only 9 of them that remain today.